break. Before he comes on, you'll be hearing the opinion of a respected sports scientist, Dr. Yanis Pitsiladis. He had a few things to say about why black athletes are so dominant in athletics and why in the last 10 years Nigeria hasn't really measured up with the best in the world. Let's take the thoughts of Dr. Yanis, and then Bambo will be joining me for the rest of Sports Tonight. Join us again.
Well, I teach in a medical school back in Glasgow, Glasgow University, and my students would often ask me, why is it that in an Olympic final all the sprinters will be black? And equally, why any major marathon event, all the distance runners will be black as well. The distance runners typically from Ethiopia and Kenya, and the sprinters typically of West African ancestry, but from Jamaica, the US, or of West African ancestry competing for other countries, whether it's Great Britain or anywhere else, Canada and so on. Let's take Jamaica for example. There, sprinting is a religion. Every child that goes to school, so every child, because all children go to school, will at some stage of their time at school sprint. So they have a perfect talent identification program because every child will sprint. And therefore the best will come out of that. So from the ages of 4, they are sprinting. Take the UK where I'm based. Sprinting, no one does it. No one. So where is the opportunity? Where do you get that opportunity to have some individuals who are going to be talented with the right genes to be able to run very fast if the population is not doing it? So typically, individuals of let's be quite straight about this. Individuals of white skin will typically not sprint. They'll do other sports. They may cycle. They may swim. And you can turn this question around. How many black swimmers are there? Does that say that black individuals can't swim? They have heavier bones and they'll drop to the bottom? Like we hear all this kind of nonsense. It's completely nonsense. Having visited both Nigeria and Jamaica, there are a lot of let's say commonalities between the two, in the sense that the typical child going to school won't have access necessarily to swimming pools and to tennis and to gymnastics and to all these other sports. Typically, it'll be football or it will be sprinting, and this whole notion of being of West African ancestry or being black from West Africa, you should be a good sprinter, is not something new. I mean, you talk about 10 years. This is something that's existed for, throughout my lifetime, so, and probably longer than that. So not having access to, let's say, sports requiring a lot of technology and a lot of money to be able to participate means that in Jamaica and in Nigeria, the sport they have access to is where you don't need equipment. All you need is a track. And clearly you do have tracks in Nigeria, and hence it's of no surprise to me that over the years you have produced a lot of athletes. I'd argue that probably why you're not producing them nowadays is that there's not enough money in athletics, so they're going over to football. If there was the same amount of money in athletics, you would see what you're seeing in Jamaica happen in Nigeria, and you're not seeing it for that reason. If we were to, and we tried to do this a few years ago in Nigeria, we tried to ascertain how popular is sprinting in the general public, and it is still very popular. I mean, all the kids at school will sprint at some stage as well of their schooling life. So those similarities that exist with Jamaica are enough to produce what you've described, that they've been able to go under 10 seconds. So for me, it's no surprise. But what won't happen unless something radically changes is to see Nigeria coming back and getting onto the podium. That's not going to happen because just having a wide base is not enough. You also need sprinting to be supported by the state, to be supported by the public, and you need key individuals also to act as mentors or role models. Now, it's been a number of years now since you've had a large number of great stars, so there aren't all those role models anymore, and that is a problem. So running under 10 seconds, 100 meters is for me not surprising. It would be surprising to see a Nigerian at this stage on the podium only because sprinting and athletics per se